Hi everyone and welcome to Office Hours, our monthly live stream where we answer your questions. My name is Martina, I'm your host, and today I'm here with Marco, our CTO. Hi Marco, how are you? I'm happy you're here with us today.
Thank you, Martina. I'm amazing. Glad to be here, and thank you everyone for joining.
If you're watching us live, you can post your questions in the live chat and we'll answer them during the stream. And if you are watching the recording of this live stream, fear not, you can always post your questions and sign up for future sessions at memgraph.com/office-hours. I think that's it. I think we can begin now. Marco, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So since this is our first office hours, maybe we could start with a simple question, something like, can you please tell us a little more about Memgraph?
So Memgraph is an in-memory graph database engine. It's both and open Cypher compatible. It's mainly used for highly connected data, and basically it can store a bunch of data and analyze the data at the same time.
Okay, that's great. Next question. So is Memgraph just a database? What about analytics and how to compute, for example, PageRank?
So because of in-memory first approach, Memgraph can do both transactional and analytical queries. So basically, Memgraph has a bunch of built-in capabilities like breadth first search, depth first search, and weighted shortest path. And these algorithms can leverage query planning because they are deeply integrated inside Memgraph. But if user wants some advanced analytics, he can implement his own algorithms with Python or C. So both of these two have advantages and disadvantages. So when it comes to Python is very good for fast prototyping and basically playing around with the data. Plus, on top of all that, because Memgraph is a running interpreter inside Memgraph is running Python interpreter inside Memgraph, any Python library from like huge Python ecosystem could be used to run some analytics, for example, NetworkX or TensorFlow. On the other side, with C, the user is much more flexible when it comes to performance, so he can implement algorithms to run very efficiently on top of Memgraph data.
Okay, thank you. And can you tell us what exactly is Memgraph Lab?
So Memgraph Lab is just a basic user interface where Memgraph can issue, where user can issue a query. Of course, when user is developing the queries, it has to see like the results and get back the data about how the query is performing and debug the queries. Also, Memgraph Lab can be used as a tool to explore data to get like graph schema and stuff like that. Memgraph Lab is not very advanced, so it's not used to be. It's not intended to be used as a very complex application. It's more for playing around with the data. When it comes to complex applications, developers have to develop their own visualizations and applications. And of course, Memgraph has a bunch of partners that work with us, and you can check out our website to figure out more about specific applications that could be used on top of Memgraph.
Okay, next question. Which data structures Memgraph uses for indexing, and does it have any other fancy data structures?
So when it comes to indexing, because of in-memory approach, we implemented something which is called skip list. Skip list is a very nice data structure that can deal with concurrency, and it's particularly good when it comes to planner statistics and getting data out of Memgraph about layout of the dataset so that queries can be run efficiently. On top of, in addition to the skip list, Memgraph has a bunch of other data structures like multiple producer single consumer queues, multi-version concurrency control, and its own garbage collector to deal with transactional data and to remove obsolete data out of the system.
Thank you. Memgraph does not start under Windows subsystem for Linux. How can Memgraph be started in a WSL shell?
So because Windows subsystem for Linux doesn't come with init script, Memgraph does not start automatically under that system. So user has to manually find the Memgraph binary and start it. To do that, usually Memgraph is located under user lib memgraph under standard Linux path. But if that's not the case, a user can use standard Linux locate command to find the actual binary and start Memgraph.
We actually have one live question. So if you're ready, how many cores does Memgraph offers on the cloud? Also, is that configurable? Alex Casano wants to know.
Very good question. So thank you for that. Memgraph Cloud is still early. So we support a couple of instances on AWS, which are fairly small at the moment. So if I'm not wrong, that's like from 2 to 8 cores based on the size of the instance. So these are usually small AWS instances at the moment.
Okay, thank you for answering that, and thank you, Alex, for posting the question. Next question, how to retrieve all labels within the graph?
Memgraph doesn't have some specific query to do that. Regular Cypher query has to be used. So user has to issue a query which goes through all nodes in the graph, and then for each node a label function has to be called, and basically if user wants a distinct set of labels, then distinct clause also can be used. When it comes to complexity, that query is complex based on how many nodes are in the graph and how many labels. Usually a set of labels is fairly small, like up to 10 or maybe 20. So we can say that in general the query is complex as there are nodes in the graph. So all nodes have to be traversed, and then labels will be collected and returned to the user.
Circling back to the cloud, Alex Casano has another question for us. Is it possible to create multi-region clusters on the cloud?
Not at the moment, because we still don't have. Still only Memgraph single machine is supported on cloud, which means that there is no multi-region support within Memgraph yet. But as soon as we have that, it will be possible to support like multi-region deployment, and then like the best example would be to have like Memgraph, one Memgraph to store data and then replicate the data in other regions.
Okay, thank you, Marco, for answering that, and thank you, Alex, again for the questions. Next question, are edges stored with a vertex, or is there some efficient way to extract an adjacency list? So,
as Memgraph is a graph database, it stores a list of it stores vertices and edges in memory, and basically each vertex has a set of references to the edges and to neighboring nodes. Basically, there are only references to neighboring nodes, and that's it. Memgraph doesn't have a global adjacency list index. In other words, a user has to issue a query that collects all the neighbors and collects all the edges, and then it has to create his own adjacency list of all, or adjacency matrix of all connections within the graph.
And are properties stored with the vertex and edge?
So yeah, both vertices and edges can have properties. Properties is a term from label property graph. So each vertex and edge has a small dictionary of key value pairs, and Memgraph stores that very efficiently inside memory. so each key value pair is serialized in an efficient data structure, and also, so if the set is small enough, Memgraph uses small buffer optimization to store that in place on stack, not allocating any more memory to do that. In addition, it's also possible to completely disable, for example, properties on edges if that's not used. In that case, Memgraph uses less memory to store everything, because vertices already contain a reference to another node, plus all the metadata, for example, edge type and edge type one.
Great, thank you. Next question: how to run Memgraph without any disk persistence?
So yeah, Memgraph is an in-memory database, but it also has durability implemented, and by default durability is enabled. When it comes to storing data on disk, both are, so Memgraph has snapshots and write-ahead logs. So snapshots are triggered with some frequency, and when that happens, Memgraph creates a complete image of the graph, like a copy of the graph on disk. Between these snapshots, write-ahead logs are created to ensure that everything is stored on disk. That's by default enabled, because usually user wants to have data available after some system failure, but it's possible to completely disable that. So Memgraph has 3 flags to deal with that. One that will completely stop the snapshots, one that will completely stop the write-ahead logs, and also when Memgraph exits, it's possible to not do snapshots, because by default Memgraph will create a snapshot on exit when process is done and it's going to be shut down.
For now, we don't have any other questions from our live audience. So is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
Interesting. Do you have any question that side maybe?
At the moment, I do not have any questions. Anyone from the crew? No one? Okay. We'll be here for a moment or two. If you have any other questions, you can post them in the live chat. If you don't have any questions, you can always go to memgraph.com/office-hours. There you can submit your questions and you can join us for the next session. Actually, we have some questions here. So from Bloom Chat: hey there, in a graph with millions of nodes and billions of relationships, deletion nodes and relationships or updating the properties of nodes and relationships can also be super slow. How to improve performance?
So could you repeat?
So in a graph with millions of nodes and billions of relationships, deletion nodes and relationships or updating the properties of nodes and relationships can also be super slow. How to improve performance?
So not sure why that is super slow. Maybe whoever asked the question maybe can elaborate a bit. But usually, if you update like a single node or single edge, doesn't matter. It's very fast, because Memgraph stores all the data in memory, and basically the question is how to quickly find a node or an edge. That should be fast, especially if there is an index, to quickly do the lookup, and then the rest is just to update in-memory data structure, which is fairly fast. So maybe a little bit more context would help. If you update entire graph, then that operation might be slow. But Memgraph is not. Memgraph is like hybrid database, transactional and analytical. But still, to update like the entire dataset it takes some time because of transactional overhead. So the transactional engine has to, like each time it has to update something, has to do additional checks and have to be, because of the consistency and isolation guarantees, that all has some overhead. So updating the entire graph or a large chunk of a graph will take some time.
Okay, thank you for answering that, Marco, and thank you for asking the question, Bloom Chat. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask them now, or you can reach us later at memgraph.com/office-hours.
Yeah, I believe we'll have more of these, so it will be possible to answer.
Yeah, of course, you can always reach Marco directly if you have any concerns or questions regarding Memgraph. His email address is marco@memgraph.com, and he'd be happy to help with your problem. Of course, graph database problem. So Bloom Chat is thanking you for the response and has another question for you. Does Memgraph have an Apache Beam Google Dataflow connector?
Not yet. So what we worked with is mostly, I mean, in our deployments is mostly Kafka and other like popular systems. But yeah, because Memgraph is both compatible, it's possible to build one probably really pretty fast. So yeah. I will take a look into that. So we didn't have any feature requests on that side yet. So yeah.
Maybe it would be interesting to go into that.
Yeah.
With a person who asked that question. Thank you again for the question.
Yeah.
We'll just be here for a moment to see if there are any other questions. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions at the moment. So thank you, Marco. This has been great. Thank you for answering the questions, and to everyone who posted your questions, thank you all for being with us live today. Again, if you want to sign up for the future sessions and if you want to post questions, you can always join us at memgraph.com/office-hours. Thank you again. See you next time, and bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.